band of wild horses, untamed and unbroken, echoes the spirit of the vast and rugged American West. But there is fear in the West that if the horses thrive unchecked, they may overrun and destroy the open range. The rattlesnake evokes fear of another kind, direct and almost instinctive. The coyote, too, has been feared and persecuted. For more than 100 years, he has been hunted relentlessly. The goal, his total extermination. But the coyote, versatile and keenly intelligent, has not only survived, he has turned man's ways to his advantage. Following in the wake of a snowplow, he seeks newly uncovered prey. For hundreds of thousands of years, winter's bitter winds have swept across the American West. It is a season of austere beauty, and a time when the survival of all living things hangs in precarious balance. Seeking food and shelter, huge herds of grazing animals sweep down to the great Rocky Mountain valleys. Here, they will struggle to outlive the long siege of winter. In winter, the fate of the coyote is intimately bound to the elk. As scavenger, his role is not to kill, but to take advantage of death. The coyote, watchful and patient, senses that the bitter cold, disease, and starvation will take an inevitable toll. A second coyote joins the vigil. Signaled by the raven's hungry clamor, the time of the scavenger has come. Gathering coyotes are tense and on guard. Their winter mating instincts sharpen the drive for dominance, and as each seeks his share of food, aggression flares. newcomer with back arched and legs stiffened seeks to appear large and menacing. Through such ritual displays of aggression, the spoils of winter will be divided. So for thousands of years, the coyote lived in the West, his instincts in harmony with the natural world. Then, a little more than 100 years ago, the white man came to the West and claimed it as his own. All his life, Parl Jackson has followed the way of the shepherd, tending his flocks on their winter range in the high snowbound plateaus of northwest Colorado. From the earliest days of the frontier, sheepmen have endured hardship and solitude to wrest a living from this land. Today, 12 million sheep graze in the West, yet the facts of the shepherd's life have remained stark and simple. In defense of his flocks, he would kill any marauder. Mountain lions and eagles were eradicated, wolves hunted to near extinction. But one predator, the coyote, still plagues the sheepman. To protect his flock, Parl Jackson spends hours each day riding his trap line. Until recently, shepherds relied mainly on poisons to control coyotes, but now the use of poisons on federal land is restricted by law. Parl is forced to set crude steel traps, much like those his grandfather used. Alone for weeks at a time, Parl can only hope to hold his own in his tedious and never-ending war against the coyote. In late winter, the season's first lambs are born. Only a few days old, they are completely dependent on the mother ewe for protection. The ewe drives off the lone coyote, but sheepmen claim that more often the lamb will be swiftly taken and the ewe sometimes killed as well.
This is the Rio Blanco County Wool Growers and annual meeting. The meeting will now come to order.
Meeker, Colorado is a center of the sheepmen's unrest and frustration. Already hard-pressed to show a profit, local sheepmen feel the coyote threat is an unnecessary and intolerable burden. Since the use of poison has been curtailed, they claim the coyote population is exploding.
We lost a good 10% of our ewes last winter, the coyote, grown sheep.
In 28 days, call it, we lost over 30 lambs, and Gene was over there and shot about 3 or 4 coyotes. We'd have been much better off if we'd have just shipped them off the mountain and had a smaller lamb than come down and take that kind of a loss.
And you can't stay in the sheep business and sustain those kind of losses.
If the coyotes weren't bothering us, we wouldn't be spending thousands and millions of dollars to kill a poor little animal that wasn't bothering us.
What's up?
A spring dawn brings the time of greatest danger for sheepmen.
Pedro, voy a agarrar el caballo voy a subirme, Ricky. Hey, Pedro.
Seeking to protect newborn lambs from lurking coyotes, Greek shepherds working the Landress Ranch near Meeker will be on guard during every daylight hour. Sheepmen claim extremely high losses to coyotes during the lambing season, but conservationists charge that the threat is greatly exaggerated and that objective information is lacking. The issue is clouded by emotion. Now hundreds of lambs are born each day, and for the shepherds, the loss of a single lamb is excessive.
Maybe lamb come up again. No say.
The shepherds must often pause to help a ewe through a difficult birth.
Okay. Okay, let's go.
Coyote pups, too, are born this spring. When they're 3 weeks old, they first venture out of the den. Though their vision is not yet clear and their balance uncertain, they meet the world with eager curiosity. The mother or father coyote always remains on guard near the den. For at this age, the pups are virtually defenseless against predators. Many will not survive these first critical months of life. By 10 weeks, the pups have ranged farther from the den. The litter is probably the largest social group they'll know. Later, they'll split up to live alone or in pairs. By 3 months, the pups have discovered the joy of howling and announce their presence in a thin, uncertain chorus. Since the pups were born, the mother has been an unfailing source of food and comfort. But now, obeying deep instincts, she becomes less generous in sharing food with her young. The pups will learn the unwelcome lesson that the time has come to hunt on their own. The coyote will eat virtually anything, including plants and insects. Both predator and scavenger, he thrives in a variety of natural environments. But often the most vulnerable prey are animals that man has introduced into the coyote's world. Eager but inexperienced, a young coyote does not hesitate to take on an entire flock of sheep. At this age, a coyote appears to enjoy a chase, but not really understand what the game is all about. The coyote may try again. If successful early in life, he will continue to prey on sheep and so become an unwitting enemy of man. Until recently, man has waged a massive and unlimited war against the coyote. Dogs, poisons, and aerial hunters were unleashed against him. But the coyote has not only survived, his range and numbers have increased. And now man, somewhat humbled, must wisely plan for coexistence. the great American desert, the warmth of spring gradually penetrates the land and revives a form of life that man has long regarded with dread. In a single underground den, rattlesnakes often mass by the hundreds for winter hibernation. After lying torpid and helpless for months, the rattlers slowly begin to stir. As they gradually leave the den, the rattlers re-enter a hostile world. Since early settlers first encountered the dangerous snake with bells on its tail, man has exterminated the rattlesnake wherever he has cleared the land. Today, the rattlesnake is found mainly in uninhabited wilderness, but the rattler's bite can be fatal, and it is still almost universally hated and feared. Few men intentionally seek out the rattler. Fewer still regard it with understanding or compassion.
Stay in there, bud.
My name is Sam Jones, and I'm interested in the rattlesnake because I was raised in and around them, and the wife and I together check them every spring and every fall. We are trying to protect them because they're necessary to the environment, same as rain, wind, or sunshine. Most people want to exterminate them, but I don't. I protect them all I can.
Yeah, making a peculiar noise.
Sam Jones and his wife Vera begin their annual tour of rattlesnake dens in the remote canyons and arroyos of New Mexico. To protect the dens from vandals and hunters, Sam keeps their locations secret. For almost 50 years, he has been an enthusiastic friend of the rattlers, inspecting their dens and collecting occasional specimens.
Going in the shadow here is a little dangerous.
These rocks are kind of slick, too.
We caught 9 on the way out.
Following the way of the rattlesnake has led to a nomadic life for Sam and Vera. Intimate knowledge of the rattler's life cycle guides their travels through the desert.
There's another den or two between here now. We'll check, and we'll either get that one tomorrow or next day.
Because it's about time that they should start having their young.
I have noticed the birth of the young rattlesnakes, and the little fellows are born individually, live birth, and within a few hours after birth, the mother leaves them, and they have to make it on their own. Everything is against the baby rattlesnakes. The roadrunner eats them, the hawks eat them, coyote, fox, and cat eat the baby rattlers. It's a very poor chance of survival. Everything is against the existence of the little fellows.
From birth, the rattler's life is ruled by the temperature of its environment. It has no internal means of temperature control, and death can result in a matter of minutes from exposure to the scorching desert sun. If the baby rattler fails to find shelter in the shade, it will lose its tenuous hold on life. The greatest enemy of all snakes is a destructive impulse lying deep in the human mind. A certain heedless bravado has always prompted men to seek and destroy them. In organized events like the annual Rattlesnake Roundup in Oak Keene, Oklahoma, hundreds of amateur hunters scour the countryside. Many won't find a rattler, perhaps to their secret relief.
You got him, Dave? Oh, here, I got him. Okay, bring him in. Got him, Dave? Watch it. Don't get...
Successful hunters will be awarded a certificate of bravery by the Oak Keene JCs.
At this time, I would like to welcome each and every one of you to our 35th annual convention of the International Association of Rattlesnake Hunters.
1974, Miss Snake Charmer.
Smoky right here, right now.
The Oak Keene Roundup offers a carnival blend of colorful nonsense and manufactured thrills.
Be sure and don't miss the den of death. Don't miss the baby rattlers and poisonous snakes and the low-down dirty snakes. See the snake handlers walking among hundreds of deadly diamondback rattlesnakes right here, right now.
One of the first things we're asked when we're inside of a pit like this, why don't these snakes strike at us? These snakes don't have the ability to think like most animals. Now, as soon as we start posing a threat to them, then they'll start striking. As long as we stand still, they won't strike because they can't distinguish that we're anything else but a fence post.
Snake?
Oh, yeah, I'm going to try it. You better believe it.
Snake meat?
Yes, you bet.
Snake meat?
Oh, that's what I come for, is the snake.
Want some snake?
What is it, fish?
At this time, I would like to introduce our new queen. She looks real nice.
Hi, 7 1/2, 7 1/2, 7 1/2. Want to get 7 1/2, $5 now, 7 1/2, 7 1/2, $6. You know you can get a good belt made out of one of these, and they'll go around to most anybody, big as they are. At $6 down here, want to get $6 now, $7 bill, $7, $7, want to get $7 now, $8, $8, did you? $8, $8, $8, $8, $7, $8. That's $7, $8, $8 bill to get $8, $8, $7, $8, $9, $9, $10 bill, $10, you're out now, 11, 11, 11, you ought to get 11, now, $12, you ought to get $12, did you? That's $12 now, $13, 13 now, $14, $14, $14, $14, you ought to get 14, 14, 14, go over there. 13, 14.
Since the dawn of man, the snake has been an obsessive symbol, both a demon and a god. And even today, he is seen through a veil of myth and in the shadow of superstition. Yet the snake is a graceful and fascinating creature for all who are sensitive to beauty and are capable of wonder. In the chill of evening, rattlers instinctively seek the lingering warmth of paved roadways, and motorists may run over hundreds of snakes in a single night. Along the highways near his home in New Mexico, Sam Jones keeps a lonely watch. To Sam, the rattler has a rightful prior claim to life in the western deserts.
Well, snake hunting in this country just came natural for me. Living among the things. They scatter all up and down the countrysides, and they're crossing the highways. So many vehicles now, they're run over and killed. I have protected them because I'm interested in the big diamond. He's a gentleman and a scholar. Everyone else hates him and wants to kill him and exterminate him. I have came to the conclusion there are so many people that doesn't understand about snakes. They are deathly afraid of the snakes. Therefore, it is a constant battle between man and beast.
Although its history is brief, the American West is haunted by the past. Everywhere there are ghostly reminders of men and women and sometimes whole communities that flourished briefly and then suddenly passed on. Lured to Nevada by the riches of the mines, fortune seekers moved swiftly on when the boom was over. They left their saloons, banks, and homes, and in the hills beyond, living remnants of a wild and romantic past. These are the legendary Mustangs, their name derived from the Spanish term for wild horse. The first Mustangs escaped from the Spanish conquistadors, and even today the Mustang represents that maverick streak in nature that man has never tamed. In the wild, horses swiftly throw off domesticated traits. A powerful stallion gathers a number of mares and their colts into a captive band. The drive to keep his band together and dominate it is among the stallion's most powerful instincts. The band is generally peaceful, so long as the stallion's leadership is uncontested. But trouble inevitably begins when another stallion seeks to intrude. In a ritualized showdown, the stallion meets a rival's challenge. Unless the stallion is very weak or old, his defense is usually successful. The challenger will continue his quest for mares, while the victorious stallion herds his harem swiftly away. Always a fugitive from man, the wild horse has become wary and elusive. The horses learned long ago that man would attempt to kill or capture them at water holes. A water hole lies just inside an abandoned mine. Each time he approaches, the stallion is nervous and alert for the slightest sign of danger. Only when the stallion is satisfied that there is no chance of ambush will he allow his thirsty mares to drink. Wild horses have always been relentlessly pursued. Hundreds of thousands were rounded up and slaughtered for use in chicken feed and pet food. This stallion has probably had several narrow escapes and cautiously remains on guard. Driven by man into the harshest and most remote corners of the West, the horses constantly move on in search of fresh graze and water. horses generally keep well clear of humans. But in times of drought, they must compete with domestic livestock for food and water. In recent years, the wild horses have been protected by effective laws for the first time. Seeming to sense their immunity, they have grown bolder. Ranchers who maintain watering stations now report that horses are driving their cattle out. The dry range of central Nevada provides sparse graze, even in the best of years. But recently, severe drought has scarred the land. In these hard times, the competition for water becomes a matter of life and death. The cattle are at a severe disadvantage. While the wild horse will range twice as far in search of new water, cows have less endurance and initiative. As their water holes gradually turn to mud, they do not move on and often die in painful misery. Ranchers do their best to save their herds. They struggle to keep the reluctant cattle moving to new water across a vast and sun-baked range. The Clifford family's ranch is one of the hardest hit. Their herds are small, their profits thin, and every life is valuable.
When you're ready. I'm not ready.
Traditional family ranches like the Cliffords may not survive if the drought goes on much longer.
I think she's about half it anyway.
For 3 generations, the family has kept its business going. Not only the land, but a way of life is at stake for Joe Clifford and his brother Roy.
We're facing one of the worst years that we've ever seen here, and a lot of people say, well, why don't you sell out, go get into something else? But heck, this is our life. We wouldn't trade it. It's not the way to go.
For the already beleaguered Cliffords, the wild horse problem is very grave. There are an estimated 1,200 horses in the area of the Clifford Ranch, and their number is rapidly increasing under the law's protection. The animal so long celebrated as the cowman's faithful servant and companion now threatens to run him off the range. Austin, Nevada, once a boom town of 10,000 citizens, now has barely 300. But ways of the Old West die hard. Every Saturday night, local ranchers throng to the same rustic bars their families have frequented for over 100 years. These days, there's a lot of talk about the new laws that prevent effective control of the wild horses. Ranchers scoff at what they consider romantic notions of conservationists. Most of the wild horses, they claim, are merely descendants of escaped animals from their own ranches.
And they were no Mustangs or Coronado. Coronado didn't bring any of them over. Coronado didn't have room with the He was bringing Jim Beam over.
My granddad walked across the plains from Maryland. This was in 1864.
100 years ago.
And we've been there ever since. And we've never had no problem with horses. He never had no problem with horses.
And there's always been horses.
And there's horses there today. We didn't want to get rid of the horses. He didn't want to get rid of them. All we're asking is for control to a certain number and somebody to control them.
Roy Clifford feels ranchers, if allowed, could humanely control the horses.
There's got to be some leniency for us to catch them. And I'll guarantee you that I can take our own so-called Mustang car, and I can take and bring them horses 20 miles, and I'll hardly have a sweat on them horses. And I'd like to see anybody take them horses 20 miles with a saddle horse. I've krilled lots of them, and I've roped as many horses in the state of Nevada as anybody out of that car.
Roy's so-called Mustang car has gathered dust since federal law prohibited all roundups using vehicles or planes. Today, the Cliffords have organized the only legal form of roundup remaining. The Cliffords and a few neighboring ranchers will try to catch some of the 800 horses they claim originally belonged to them. By law, the roundup must be accomplished by mounted riders. Everyone knows the job will be difficult, if not impossible.
Yeah. Well, I hope we can catch whatever we start. We're going to nominate Tom to ride the first one that goes in the crowd. How about it, Tom?
A lot of help going away, Shane.
Yeah. We get down there in the bulk as the riders. I don't know how many we got this morning. There's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Bulk will get on the north side of them and try to bring them in towards the wing. And any little colts that fall back, leave them go. And when we get to the wing, try to bring them to the chain link side, because that's where we'll have our trouble. They'll try to break to the north. Well, we're ready? Let's go.
The Clifford party will try to encircle the wild horses and then drive them into a fenced enclosure. As the Cliffords feared, they're only able to bring a few small bands anywhere near the fenced area. And even now, the wild horses are likely to sense the trap and break away. The plan goes haywire as the Mustangs break and double back with astonishing agility. After being run at a gallop for over 10 miles, the wild horses are still capable of lightning speed. As an effort to control the local wild horses, the roundup is a dismal failure. In the real West, unlike the rodeo ring, the cowboy's rope is all too easily avoided. More than 100 horses have been sighted today, but in the end, the riders have captured only 4, a meager reward for all the time and energy expended.
A long run that to get them in here.
Pretty tough go.
Government officials will allow the Cliffords to keep only the horses they can prove once belonged to them.
What happens? A couple old geldings here and a little stud.
And I think the stud belongs to that mare there.
You claim this. You claim the stud then.
Claim
huh?
the stud.
But looks like here we just got a couple of horses that's been trespassed.
The crowning indignity of the day comes when the officials must calculate and collect a fine. Government regulation stipulates that each horse claimed by the Cliffords has been a trespasser on federal land.
We got the computation figured out on the trespass fees, and the mare was figured at 3.5 years. And that bill comes out to be $79.70 for that mare.
Wow.
And for the stallion, we compute the trespass damages out at $14.04.
Well, I think that's about the end of the rounding the horses up. Because I think that trespass fee is very out of line. I really do.
That $90-some-odd trespass against us, if we were to hire this crew, it'd cost us better than $100 today.
As far as I'm concerned, I can't see how anybody's going to catch these horses out.
Long the victims of brutal harassment, wild horses today are protected and thriving. But as their numbers mount, the law protecting them will be challenged, even defied. And whatever the outcome, the legacy of spacious freedom in the West will suffer if there is not room enough for man, for cattle, and for the Mustang. Winter settles upon the West, bringing new beauty and new hardships. As their graze disappears beneath the snow, the Mustangs face lean and dangerous months ahead. Some of the weaker horses, the youngest and the oldest, will not survive until spring. Many bands will be forced high onto mountain slopes in search of grass exposed by driving winds. In southeastern Nevada, 30,000 acres of high country have been leased by a group of conservationists as a refuge for wild horses. Such privately maintained preserves may offer at least a partial solution to the wild horse problem. Bob and Sue Williams manage the ranch. Impatient with stereotype parlor conservationists, they have forsaken comfortable lives in the Midwest to live near the Mustangs and attempt to help them.
Tank's almost, what, 3/4 full?
About on 5. Pretty close to it.
During the winter, the Williams check water supplies and spread salt blocks for the Mustangs grazing on their land. But even on the refuge, they fear that horses may be molested. And for Bob Williams, any threat to the horses is outright rejection of a cherished Western ideal.
That horse out there that's running wild, he's free. He's not responsible for man to keep him going. And he do fine just on his own if he's let alone. It's just a freedom symbol. And still, it's a remembrance of the Old West. The horses are going to go the same way as the buffalo went, and the antelope started, and the mountain sheep started before they were grabbed. It's just part of the Old West that's going down the drain.
The Williams Ranch is supported by voluntary contributions from horse lovers across the country. But the effort has little local support. The Williams' greatest concern is that the new law protecting wild horses may be repealed. Sentiment against the horses has been rising throughout Nevada, and tonight, a local newspaper editorial charges that protecting wild horses is nothing more than a capricious whim of human vanity.
Uh-oh, you got him one.
What, special?
Yeah, special. Vanity. One of Tom Clay's special. That Public Law 92-195.
If they get that law repealed like he wants it, there won't be any horses left.
No, unless they got spots on them, and there is horses. That's
or
the way.
behind fence.
They're behind fence. Well, you say right. He owns the paper. He can publish whatever he wants to. If he has his way, he'd just rather kill all the wild horses off.
He sounded like he was just going on like he was before.
Well, I tell you, I think we ought to do something about it this time.
The Williams decide to confront the author of the editorial. They head for the neighboring 1001 Ranch, where the Lincoln County Record is published. Tough, plain-speaking journalism is a proud tradition in Nevada, and equally traditional is the Williams' right to openly challenge the Record's crusty 92-year-old editor, Tom Clay.
Morning, Mr. Clay.
Same to you. 1,001 of them.
We saw your article, that editorial you put in your paper.
Vanity, oh, yes. Yes, yes.
You know, we take exception to this, and we figured that being this law has already been passed and signed and everything, that I think we ought to let it alone.
Well, don't you think sometimes the law ought to be repealed?
Well, yes, some laws.
I have never found anybody yet that had a good argument for this law. These Mustangs, different breed of horses or what?
Not really a different breed, but they represent...
What? What do they represent?
They represent the Old West, what's left of it.
What do they contribute to man, our wild horse?
Does everything have to contribute?
Well, it isn't worth a damn unless it does, is it?
You don't like to see wild horses running out through there?
Sure. But why take away the range from the cattle and the sheep and so forth and give them to wild horses if we can't use it anyway?
Well, they still have a right to life.
Well, if he's of no good, you don't eat his flesh, you can't do a damn thing with it. Why keep him? You want to preserve him because they've got a right to life.
Everything's got a right to life. That's God-given.
Thank you.